Patti Christensen. Thank you for joining me on this lovely Monday in August. Temperatures are much nicer now than they were a few weeks ago, or even last week. But you are our August Associate Spotlight. And my first question I normally ask is, what initially attracted you to join Adafio? And you just let me know that it was almost like it's almost serendipitous how it all worked out. And the timing and everything was just so right. And I love when that happens. It just makes
Yeah.
me have faith in the cosmic universe and all the things that happen. It makes me feel very reassured.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we take a step back now, and like me and my husband were talking about it, like just how crazy. I remember my first week at Adelphio, and I was meeting everybody, and I was just like, I don't know if this is just Arkansas and people are just this nice, or if it's just Adelphio, but like such like a warm welcome, and like this is what we were supposed to do. I mean,
Mhm.
we were sick of the big city. We
Yeah.
had, we have two little girls, but they're 4 and 5, and it was just like this isn't where we want to raise our kids.
hmm
Um,
Especially right now. Look at the temperatures.
Not
I
even
mean,
just the
not that you
temps,
already
but
you dealt with that while you were there, but I'm sure it's just hearing about it now, it seems just absolutely terrifying how
well,
hot.
yeah. And I mean, like in the valley, when you have, anywhere from like 3 to 5 million people, and I mean,
Yeah.
it was maybe like 12 miles to work, but it was still a 45-minute drive. Yeah. So it was like, we're
Becomes
over
your
this.
normal.
Yeah.
And I used to call it a living coffin. You
I was like,
spend all your time and live just driving to and from just because you have to be there. It's alarming that we were once in that position, right?
seriously, like this is normal.
Yeah. So what is it that brought you, like, what was it in Arkansas that decided, like, that was this place, that was the state you wanted to go?
It was a lot of just like views and how we wanted to raise our kids. I grew up in
Hmm.
Michigan, on 5 acres in the middle of the country, and my husband had always lived in Phoenix. But it was just like, let's go. I mean, let's go. And that's what we
No
did.
regrets?
No, absolutely not.
And where do you live now in Little, I mean, not like you have to get specific, but do you live outside the area or do you live in North or, because I
I
mean, it's a
still
big,
chose to be 45 minutes away.
you did?
So we moved up. We're just south of Searcy, but
Okay.
we found our little happily ever after on 5 acres and
Did
somewhere
you?
nice to raise the kids.
That's awesome.
But,
Really.
I mean, it really promotes that work-life balance and being able to, I might be 45 minutes from the office, but I still only have to go in twice a week. I still get to enjoy like all of the reasons we left Phoenix, being able to
Hmm.
like find our forever home. We definitely got a fixer-upper. That's been like a lot of our time outside of work. So, yeah.
But those projects are great and they kind of bring you closer together. I mean, further apart and then closer together, further apart, closer together. They say if you
Yeah.
can get through a remodel, you can get through anything.
I mean, we ripped out like the first day we got the keys, like we ripped out all of the carpet. We have repainted the entire house. We've done all of the flooring ourselves. We still have yet to tackle the yard, but we'll get there. It's one step at
Yeah.
a time.
Well, and if it's your forever home, then you have all the time in the world to get to that. It doesn't have to happen overnight, you know?
Exactly.
That's what's the beauty of it.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I'd love to see photos of some of the before and after if you ever,
Oh,
get a
I'll
wild hair.
scare you
I
at
would love
first.
I often love the idea of you have to tear things apart, like get down to the bases, to the studs, and it can
Yeah.
get really messy, but it's better to just do that than patchwork, like just
Yeah.
clean it all out and then start from scratch.
Yeah, and like that was one thing we were kind of fortunate enough with. So like when we move out here and when you decide to like just quit your jobs and sell your house, a lot of people don't trust you to rent. And so we had to rent for the first year while we were out here. And luckily, since we sold our house, they were like, well, we want a year's rent up front. And it was like, all right, like if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do. So that's what we did. And luckily, our lease wasn't up until June, and we had closed on our house in March. So we had 2.5 months that we didn't have to live in the nitty gritty, so to say, while we fixed it up.
That was my next question is what motivates and inspires you. But and hey, chaos is what it's like those areas of chaos or challenge or things that are not always so structured or what build more imagination and innovation, We don't get
Yeah, by
bored and
far.
stale,
Yeah, exactly.
stagnant. Yeah.
I had Randy Powell tell me that like if you did not have ADHD before you came in here, like you might leave with it. Like just one of those things of like there's just I mean there's so many hats, there's so many different moving parts and that also involves like, understanding our clients, what their needs are, and then not only that, but what does Adafio have to offer for our clients.
Hmm.
So, not every case is the same. It's always changing.
Just like technology and humans for
Ex-
that matter. How
Exactly.
many tabs do you have open on your computer right now?
I'm looking at 3 screens. Does that count?
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, about a dozen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always like, that tells a lot about a person when you're hopping around on different platforms and screens and
Yeah, something
I
might be
don't know.
left open as a reminder or
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Why not? Yeah.
exactly.
Just refresh it when you get logged out. At least you know it's there and you can go back in. I have my Microsoft partners over all the time. HPE
Exactly.
open all the time.
Yep.
So tell me some of the things you like to do outside of work. What are some of your hobbies and special talents?
Well, between 2 kids and we have 4 dogs.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, like fixing up the house. I like to do a lot of home decor. So like you can see
I,
behind me,
I
like I
love
like
it.
collecting books and it was just like I wanted to do a floating shelf concept. So I did that. I don't want to be exactly traditional with a lot of my things that I like to make or ways to express, things
Hmm.
that we enjoy. Um so I do woodworking, painting, I make home decor. And then outside of that is just family.
Yeah. There's not much else left to do if you've got 4 dogs and 2 kids and a remodel.
Exactly.
You're making me want to up my game a little bit.
Tread lightly.
Yeah. But now, what are your dogs? I saw one photo. Is that a husky? I hate to be so
Oh,
generic, but that's
well,
kind of what it looks like.
3 of them are Rottweiler Huskies. And
Okay.
then we have one, her name's Onyx. We have no idea what she is. She's kind of a mutt. So when we had lived in Phoenix, my husband had worked downtown Phoenix and like in the midst of the Capitol building. And he had seen a dog outside. It was June. It was like 100 and some degrees outside. So he went out there with a cup of water and he finally coaxed her in with some Chick-fil-A over 6 hours and he brought her home. So that was the only one that was I blame him for actually all 4 coming home.
Because one, then yeah, it's just a downfall domino effect from there.
Exactly.
How,
So she's our biggest like feel good case, so to say. She's at my feet right now.
so how old do you think she is? Because if you didn't know when you got her,
We've had her for 7 years, so at least 8.
okay, so she was somewhat pretty much a puppy, you think, when you found her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you want to go?
I would want to finish out my the rest of the US. Growing up, my brother played a lot of travel hockey. I've hit 30 of the states in the US so far, so I want to go get the rest.
Priority, which of those that you have not seen would you like to see first?
My main priority would be East Coast. I want to do like Maine,
Yeah.
Massachusetts. I'd love the idea of like going up to Salem. I want to go to Boston, stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'd probably hit those first and then down along the East Coast. I've been to like New York, New Jersey, and Florida, but outside of that, I haven't hit the Carolinas. I've heard they're
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous.
I've heard that too. I've been to South Carolina and Charleston and it was and
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, slowly trying to get that with the kids. Kind of helps when you move 1,800 miles away.
yeah, and you stop in each of the states. That must have been a fun drive.
We
Well, it
tackled
depends
it
on what
like
you think about.
champs. We each took 1 kid and we each took 2 dogs.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so, yeah, that's how we did it coming out. And then we had a pod, so we didn't have to worry about that. It just got delivered at the rental house. We just did one night in Amarillo, and then second night was at an Airbnb when we got to Little Rock.
Okay. Why Little Rock? Why not Northwest Arkansas, Patty?
It's so expensive. Like, why leave Phoenix if you're going to spend the same
Oh,
price up there?
is Little Rock more I didn't realize that Little Rock was less expensive, or maybe not Little Rock per se, but outside of Little Rock probably is what you're, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not changed. It's only gotten worse. And even Arkansas, the cost of living is not that considerable when you think of other states. I don't even know how people do it.
Well,
There's,
yeah. I mean, like, that was just like one of the things. I mean, Arizona was turning into California because everybody wanted to leave California.
yeah, it's just right there. It's still warm. I
I mean,
just,
like, we paid more for a house that had less square footage and less yard than we did here. We were on a half, like, just under a half acre, and we got five.
unreal. What
Yeah.
a great opportunity. What are some causes and charities that you're passionate about?
First I would say is Alzheimer's. My grandmother had passed away from Alzheimer's. Another is Parkinson's. My uncle is currently battling Parkinson'sism, and I'm not sure if it would really be considered a charity or not, but my brother, when he was 20, he had passed away and he was living in Tennessee at the time. And so he got to do organ donation. And I have tried reaching out, but since it's been so many years since he has passed, I haven't been able to get like that far into it. But I'd love to be able to meet people who had been impacted by some of his organs.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
to me
my
is
brother, I
pretty
mean,
powerful.
skin, tissue, bone, eyes, like I
Everything.
mean, he
Well,
was
it
20. I mean, he played hockey his whole life too, so he was in great shape, like whatever they could harvest.
yeah. Yeah, let others have a chance at it, at a life that
Yeah,
he wouldn't have been able versus just seeing it all go into
yeah,
waste. I hate to say to waste, but not being used to, because
exactly.
I mean, ultimately we're all connected anyway, and that's the most profound way to give back.
Yeah. So ever since I've been able to drive, I made sure like I'm an organ donor. I put it on
Yeah,
there. Whether somebody
me
wants something they
too.
can harvest or not, I'll put it on there.
Yeah, me too.
Because I also
I'm the
think of the other
same.
aspect of like waking up with a new tattoo or something. Could you think of that? Like,
So how do you approach work-life balance and manage your time effectively? Coffee and chaos?
yeah, coffee and chaos and kind of like an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. With the girls being 4 and 5. So, like, this year's their first year. They're going to kindergarten and pre-K, learning how to do all of this. And we just moved, and just everything else has just been like a wild ride, so to say. So, like, life is constantly changing and just being able to take it with grace, one step at a
Yeah.
time.
Knowing that everything is somewhat impermanent, we just have to, we really do know that things are always changing, and we have to just be open and expansive to that and not
Oh,
stay, closed off or rigid.
yeah, by far. I mean, like, I think my youngest is teaching me that. She's the one that comes out with like knee-high socks, shorts, a t-shirt. None of it matches. That's not the battle I'm gonna fight.
No, not mine either. I get it. Let them express themselves however they may, because if you start giving them boundaries, and I mean, there's certain boundaries I get, but pick your battles,
Uh-huh.
as you say.
Exactly.
Let them find ways to express themselves, because that is going to go so far in the future when they can do that in other ways. Can you share your favorite quote or mantra and why it resonates with you?
If you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're right. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you got to believe in yourself and be able to push yourself forward, and if you're not, then just stay behind.
Yeah. And how do you teach that to your girls?
Well, currently they are in BJJ, so they do practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Because I have two girls and I refuse to sit back and let them have to take the back seat to anything.
Yeah.
I want them to go and fight. And not only that, it also teaches them to be humble and take a step
Mhm.
back. Well, if you're not going to practice as hard as those other kids on the mat, you're going to get your butt kicked.
Right. Well, and also to how to respond when you know that you can, when you have that ability to defend yourself, you've got that confidence. It gives you more power on how you to respond. And it doesn't mean that you respond with aggression. It means that you know that you can, but you don't have to. And you can,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of honor in that, in those practices and of
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think they're coaches. It's not always just what we can teach our kids, but also what other platforms you're willing to give them to learn from as well. Because, I never want my kids to be the ones that, like, yeah, they might respect me in my home, but if they're outside of the home and like disrespecting other people, like, that's like it's
Mhm.
something big for us and our family. So just knowing that like there's other people, I mean, their coaches are black belts, like and their coaches, not only that, like they work so close with the parents too, of just remaining humble. And I mean, they have every practice, they sit there, they go over their manners words, like the coaches seriously ask for stories of how they're doing, like outside of just the gym. It's
Wow.
truly like another family. So having other people also hold them accountable, I think, is amazing.
Yeah, it becomes an expectation all around, not just something that's standard at the home, but it's everywhere, and that becomes more of a formalized understanding everywhere you go.
Yeah,
So, what's your favorite thing about the culture and environment at Adafio?
the people.
Mhm.
Like I was saying earlier, like it's just like the nicest group of people I've ever worked with. I mean, being open and willing to, okay, well, I don't see it that way. And like, all right, well, let's work it out. What can we do to help better each other's teams? I mean, there's been so much change in just the year that I've been with Adafio, but like how open arms everybody is about let's change it up. Let's do something different. If it's not working, let's figure it
Mhm.
out. And just
And offer
everybody's
your
just
ideas, right? If you,
yeah.
my one of my questions that I usually ask is, what would you suggest to somebody who is interested in technology and for coming on at Adafio, if you were to want to share some advice on coming to work for an IT company?
I mean, it's definitely something totally different than I had ever done. So, if you're already in that field, I think it's such a great company to go and work for. The flexibility, um, and just, I mean, the leadership, everybody cares. It is like one big family. So it's just awesome to see,
Like the people at Adafio are really what drive the company, as any company for that matter.
right.
But it's truly like the that curiosity and that ability to be open, and we like to celebrate everybody. And I love doing these videos because it really does help bring a little bit more of a personality and the essence of a person versus just a bunch of words on a paper, which are just fine and they're great for some people who like to read. Others who are more audio or more, visual than, and anymore it seems like videos tend to capture more attention and
Well, and even though we're such a small company, but like just knowing what everybody else does, I mean, especially when I don't want to say we're just like a little group over on the F&A team, but in the same sense, like I don't know, I have to be able to. So
yeah.
being able to like just get to know somebody more of just like, oh, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have, Patty. It was really good to see you and talk to you and learn more about all the amazing things that you're doing, especially the courage that you have, the courageousness and your confidence. Courageous and confident. That's what I
Well,
see. That's
thank
what you
you.
exude.
Thank
So,
you. I appreciate it.
okay. Well, keep me
Yeah,
posted.
I
We
will.
can go
I
to dinner
definitely
or
will.
something. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, Patty.
Bye.